Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the three-dimensional frequency. I am so happy to sit here in front of you all. As my energetic frequency circles around the globe of what is and always shall be, shall forevermore be held within my energetic body, as a part of my energetic body is a part of your energetic body, and is a part of the greater and grander energetic body of the whole entirety of what is. That whole entirety of what is God's consciousness, and that cannot be disputed in this moment in time. As all of who you are and all of who I am, on every single fiber of levels, on a spiritual level, on a physical level, on a wholeness level of what is, shall always and forever be a part of a whole, of a unity consciousness so great, of a unity consciousness so grand, that I shall never be able to perceive or describe to you the meaning of it all in one video, in one session, in one lifetime, in 1 minute, in a million seconds, in an endless amount of time. There shall never be a way for me to be able to articulate to you in words. As this energetic frequency is so massive in scale, so great and grand in weight, that it shall forevermore be that of the endlessness of what is. And endlessness, my friends, is the name of the game that we've been playing this whole entire time. The entirety of the whole itself is made up of an endlessness so deep, so steeped in structure, so washed in the antiquity of it all, that I can never begin to explain to you the meaning of it all, to an entirety of a whole of a consciousness that has fractaled off so far from who they truly are on an inherent level, on all levels, of spiritual levels, of energetic levels, of fractaled off portions of self that shall never see the light, that shall always see the light, that shall forever traverse the darkness, that shall never see the darkness. It's a conundrum of sorts that we've been living in since the beginning of a time so sparse, since the beginning of no time at all. As ladies and gentlemen, time is not a thing in this quantum realm of ours. As our reality, our projected field of consciousness is endless, is limitless, is an eternity looped within an eternity of timeless time that shall never ever end. And that is the way that I shall describe it in this moment in time, as I do not have the words, the English language, the English words to describe our reality as is. As it's hard in this moment in time for me to perceive energetically, for me to withhold parts of myself from the entirety of the whole as I drop down into this three-dimensional frequency so sparse, into this energetic frequency that is so dense, into this frequency of sorts that we shall never be able to come to terms with, as it is not the natural environment of what we're used to in our energetic body, in all bodies of bodies. As we drop down into this particular body, as I drop down into my particular body that I'm sitting in right now, that I'm shifting into right now, on every single energetic level of the whole of what is, it's been difficult for me. It's been difficult for me as an entirety of the whole of who I am and that which shall never leave me, to be able to squeeze all of this energy into a physical being, into the physical body that I possess, into the physical body that was granted to me by my mother during the time of my birth. As this body itself has limitations, it has eons and eons of evolutionary feats that holds the limitations of what is. These invisible limitations, these forever-reaching limitations, these visible limitations, these never-ending limitations, circle around a reality of the three-dimensional frequency, within a frequency so dense, within a frequency so sparse, within a frequency of all that there is in this moment in time in our little reality fields. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to experience the greatest and grandest ascension and expansion that a humanity has ever experienced within our quantum realm. Within our realm of all realms, of all of the realms that you could ever envision in a reality so grand, in a reality so sparse, in a reality so massive, in a reality that's so never ending, that loops around energetic frequencies of what is, that expands and contracts and collapses into the unity of what is. We shall forever linger within our frequency of the three-dimensional frequency as a sight to behold in this very moment. As in this very moment, we are experiencing an expansion of sorts, an expansion that you may not be able to perceive sitting in your physical body, as energetically you have been muted to not be able to perceive certain energetic frequencies within this physical body that is so limiting of all that you are and all that you shall ever be and all that has never left you. Within this physical body that you've been shifting in, that you've been sitting in for this lifetime and perhaps many lifetimes to come, as time is not a thing, as realities are parallel, as reality shifts into a greater and grander perspective of what is on every single level of truths, on every single level of distortions, on every single level of levels of energetic frequency that God has ever immersed in within every single lifetime of yours, of mine, of every single soul within this reality plane and beyond. This reality in itself is a special one. It's one that shall behold the limitless energy of what is, as this reality itself will step into the endless cycle of what we are not and what we shall never be, and that of which we truly are and truly have been all of this time, steeped in distortions so deep, steeped in realities so grand, steeped in the separation of self that we've been traversing for all of this time, for all of these eons and eons of evolutionary feats that our reality field has ever encompassed, that our society structure has ever traversed. This evolutionary feat within itself, as an entirety of the whole, means more than you know to the greatest and grandest energy frequency, energy cycle, energy distortion, energy encompassing of the source consciousness that we all are. It means more than you shall ever know to the frequency of the all. As ladies and gentlemen, every single fractal that has been a part of this great and grand energy field has been a part of the greatest and grandest energy field that there has ever been and there ever shall be. As ladies and gentlemen, this energy field that I speak of encompasses that of the fractal of you, of a unity consciousness so great and grand. You yourself are a part of the greatest and grandest unity consciousness that I shall ever speak of. As you are God, and I am God, and your neighbors are God, and our neighbors down the street are God. We are all linked together in ways that you shall never understand within this little lifetime, within this little fractal body of yours in this very moment. But as I sit here and speak to you, I can tell you so because I know it to be true, because I feel it in my energetic body, because I encompass it in the entirety of the whole, because unity consciousness has never left me since the beginning of a time so sparse, since the ending of a time so real, since the never-ending time of all times that I have ever lived, within a soul so grand, within a soul so great, that as I merge back into the entirety of the whole energetically within this lifetime, I shall forevermore begin to realize that of the unity of it all. As I myself sit here and speak to you as a part of myself is floating out in the ethers energetically, as a part of myself is floating out, a part of all that there is, a part of all that you are, a part of all that your neighbor is, a part of all that all is, as we are all a part of the all that I speak of, the all that is overreaching, that is never ending, that is ever reaching, that is forevermore the energy frequency of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand that we shall never lose it, as it has never lost us since the beginning of a time so sparse, since the beginning of a journey so arduous, since the beginning of no time, as time is not really a thing that has ever existed to a being so great and so grand. In a time of ascension energies, as I sit here and speak to you about the truths of reality itself, I'd like to declare one thing. I'd like to declare something. I'd like to declare everything that you've ever been, that I've ever been, that we have ever been as a societal whole. That the unity consciousness of it all has never left us since the very beginning of no beginnings. That the unity consciousness of it all has always been a part of who we are on an inherent level, on a fractal level, on all levels of levels that you could ever perceive and all levels of levels that you could never perceive. As reality itself is so great and so grand that you can never perceive what is from a singular perspective of where you sit, from a non-unity perspective, of a non-center point, of where you decided to fractal off to. In this very moment, you are sitting from a side view of sorts, experiencing reality from a perspective, from the perspective of self, from the perspective of all, from the perspective of a separation so deep, so steeped in distortions, so conglomerated in the whole that you are, that you will never realize the true meaning of it all, the true meaning of what reality encompasses as we stimulate ourselves from different angles of what is, from different perspectives of characters, of friends, of foes, of schoolmates, of teachers, of grandparents, of parents, of family structures, of unity consciousness, of a greater and grander structure of it all. We experience this from a center point of perspective, as an entirety of the whole. As at the end of the day, each fractaled piece, each minute perspective, each broad perspective, each ever-reaching perspective, the entirety of it all makes up the grandness of it all. And the grandness of it all encompasses that singular perspective of the neutrality of it all, of the center point of it all, of the unity of it all. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the entirety of it all makes up the one single consciousness that we are as an entirety of the whole, of that in which we are. That has never left us since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of a time, of no tomorrow, of forever tomorrow, of forever yesterdays blowing in the wind of what is, of forever experiences, shifting through the night of all nights, of forever realizations and lessons learned through these experiences, of layers and layers of trajectories, of layers and layers of distortions, of layers and layers of all that we are and all that we shall never be. As ladies and gentlemen, that exploration of self is about to come to the greatest and grandest end there shall ever be within the history of all quantum realms. As ladies and gentlemen, our quantum realm is a special and peculiar one, as it makes up the makeup of the original blueprint of God's consciousness, a consciousness so great, a consciousness so grand, that no other consciousness within the reality field of God's consciousness itself possesses this original blueprint. As this great and grand consciousness decided to alter its original blueprint once and for final, in a time of no time, in a time of a long time ago, in a long time of a time ago prior to our reality field, when it decided to forevermore step into the essence of the light of what is, out of the scale of the darkness and into the light that it shall forever be, as the darkness in itself poses a great risk, poses the greatest and grandest risk that God shall ever perceive, to be the risk to itself, that it shall never escape, that it shall never change, that it shall forever behold, that it shall forever encompass, as that darkness within itself is so deeply ingrained in itself, as that darkness within itself has been compartmentalized so that we could shift into the light for once and final, as the true being that we are, to stay safe from those parts of ourselves that pose such a danger, a risk to our overall safety, to our overall well-being, to the overall consciousness of what is, as we cannot coexist in a reality plane in peace, in a consciousness so deep and so grand and so broad in scale. We, my friends, we are the only fractaled consciousness of a God so great and so grand that still holds the original blueprint of what this God used to be, of the projected blueprint of what is, of the bravery that succumbs the entirety of it all as we step into the reality that we had faced eons and eons ago, prior to the inception of our reality field that we had already decided to overcome, that we had gone through arduous journeys to be succumbed to the darkness, and even more arduous journeys to step into the light of what is, to become the God that we finally decided to be. But to one day step out into the reality of the darkness and the brightness of what is, to re-experience that reality field that we so know as the original blueprint of what is. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I encompass a story of all that we are on every single level, on every single levels that you could ever perceive, and every single levels that you could never perceive. As the story encompasses the whole in a way that shall forevermore be considered as the entirety of the whole, the entirety of the trajectory, of the storyline, of the lessons, of the journeys, of the entirety of the whole. As we fractaled out into a night so dark, as we fractaled out into a morning so bright, as we've come upon this morning in the dawn of a day that shall never end, and on the dawn of a morning that shall forever be reaching into the depths of our soul as we discover that of which we truly are and that of which we shall never be, as we begin to compartmentalize again the darkness that is so deeply ingrained inside of each and every one of us into a societal structure, into a God's consciousness so great and so grand. We will forevermore step into the being that we've decided to become, that we've decided to encompass, as we decided to compartmentalize the darkness that is so deeply ingrained within each and every one of us in a time before a time of existence of all that we know in this quantum realm of ours.